What a way to make a living. Crypto is on the rise, making that dough in the crypto paradigm. Watching it grow, buying low, selling high. Riding the wave, I'm here to stay, living in the digital age. No banks, no fees, just decentralized. It's crypto paradise. Ooh. No banks, no fees.
Alrighty, let's kick this thing off, Sir Family. Happy Friday. It is November 7th. We are back with another daily live stream. Lots to cover today as always. Bitcoin is holding that $100,000 level right on the precipice though. Where do we think it goes from here? Up, down, sideways. We'll talk about the chart and some of the macros that are upcoming, tailwinds and headwinds. Privacy coins continue to run. We will cover Zcash. We will cover a few other coins that we have our eyes on that we bought into. Congrats if you're in that trade. What else we got going on today? Wall Street continues to buy. Wall Street is bullish. Big whales are accumulating. And yet the price struggling to break above this $100,000 mark. Let's see how things continue to play out here. So with that all being said, first of all, happy Friday. Happy Friday. Looked like we were bouncing off that 100K level. I wasn't sure we were going to see that again for a minute, and then all of a sudden, it's been a couple days of red here. What do you think accounts for it, and where do you think we go from here?
Yeah, I mean, red once again. There's been no real bullish catalyst here. I mean, obviously you had what could have been a bullish divergence. You're still holding higher than those levels, but nothing too much going on that's bullish until to this morning's news. We're going to go over that. We got Kathy Wood saying she just put another $120 million into Bitcoin. Michael Saylor was raising $300 million, now upped it to $620 million for future Bitcoin buys. And a couple other stories are coming out that are bullish for crypto and Bitcoin. Price still holding the 100,000 level, but teetering with that previous low of 99,000. Again, if you've been following along, the Elliott wave count potentially has downside objectives of 85 to 95,000. We've been saying we want to hold above that 98,000 level, and so far we are doing that. But yeah, nothing too exciting to get about. I did see you shared, I'll pull this up because I didn't really understand this based off what I'm seeing on my crypto Twitter and what we're seeing in price. But apparently the people are flipping bullish on Ethereum. The sentiment 2 days ago was 0.86 bullish comments per one bearish comment, so more bearish than bullish. But now apparently it's 2.7 bullish comments per one bearish comment, the highest positive bias towards ETH since July. And maybe this is true or maybe this is skewed, but I'll tell you from my perspective, I don't see this at all. And I was actually in a Pulse Chain Spaces yesterday, and somebody came in there and said, yeah, we're still going to have an alt season, but Ethereum is dead. And I'm hearing a lot of the same Ethereum dead rhetoric that we heard when Ethereum was like $1,200. So I don't know about you, but the sentiment definitely does not feel bullish for Ethereum.
No, sentiment across crypto Twitter is in the gutter. That's just a fact. And you can look on the Fear and Greed Index, and you can see the general sentiment across the entire market is obviously very fearful. This is interesting from Santiment. I do trust Santiment data. Santiment is a well-established sort of gauge of, chatter across social media and where sentiment is. But sentiment's a tricky thing to trade on, right? Because, oftentimes you see bullish sentiment and then the prices go in the opposite direction. Bearish, super bearish, and then all of a sudden, the price starts to pump and people get left behind. So I don't read too much into it. It's an interesting data point. I think continue, zoom out, be long term, and you should be bullish on this asset class in general, and certainly on Ethereum. I know Wall Street is. Kathy Wood, Thomas Lee. I mean, the big investors continue to accumulate. They continue to invest into the DATs, the digital asset treasury companies. The story, I think, of this phase of the bull run, it's a fight between the 4-year halving cycle, the OGs, right? A lot of Bitcoin OGs and those whales, versus the new money, the Wall Street, and they're trading sort of on a different cycle, liquidity cycle, so on and so forth. That's the battle. That's the battle, and we haven't really figured out a direction here. You could argue the bears are winning, and you'd probably be correct in the near term, but let's see how this all plays out in the longer term. That's the fight, guys. That's the fight. Are you an OG who believes in the 4-year cycle, or are you thinking about a liquidity cycle and a 5-year cycle instead, I know where I sit.
Yeah, and I would say three camps because remember, there's also the camp that says, hey, the 4-year cycle, the adjustments, the days that it's supposed to be, we topped in either September or October. Then you have the 4-year cyclists who say, hey, this could be like 2017, where Bitcoin probably tops in November, December, and you have altcoins that top in December, January, and then you have the extending 5-year cycle guys like ourselves who think, hey, you can go into Q1 or even Q2 of 2026. And then now you have GTA saying they're not even launching until November of 2026. And remember, I was on here saying I think when GTA 6 launch, that's going to make a big top because a lot of the creators are going to go on there and make crypto-related servers. That's going to get a lot of the youth involved into crypto, using crypto in the game, and that probably will be the top for crypto. Well, they just pushed it back another year. So now it's like, I don't know. But that's just a joke, kind of. But realistically, there's three camps. Those who already said, hey, based on days, we were supposed to top in September or October. Based on the 4-year halving cycle we saw in 2017, we're supposed to have a bullish Q4, and then really altcoin blow-off will be in January. And then you have the extension of the 5-year cycle, which means that, hey, Q1, Q2 of 2026. So I think you're right. You have this rotation of people who've made a lot of money, and they would rather just take their money rather than being maybe wrong, and we did top. And then you got the other people who are like, no, we need to get long. We're still going longer for higher for longer. And it's just this battle right now, which is draining on everybody in between because alts are not doing anything unless you're in the privacy sector.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the sort of data or the proofs backing up the three camps. Because when you look at the data, I think it's inescapable what's actually happening here. But from the standpoint of, say, the 4-year halving cyclists who think, we're going by a calendar year, 1,662 days or whatever it is until the next top, and then you have an alt season. Well, the problem with that argument, well, there's a lot of problems, but the one I see now is where's alt season? Bitcoin topped at 126K under this theory, right? And money should be now flowing into altcoins. Altcoins should be running, right, under this theory. We have now 2 months of basically alt season that you would expect to happen. That's not happening either, so that theory doesn't make a lot of sense. Then you have the folks who are saying, the 4-year halving cycle may be running up until, the end of this year, right? If it's mirroring 2017. That also doesn't make a lot of sense to me because we never had the euphoric blow-off top phase like we saw in 2017, early 2018. Who remembers when Bitcoin ran starting in, I think it was October, right? 3 months of boom, 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 like 30%, 40%, 30%, and we ran to $20,000 Bitcoin. And then, of course, things crashed and, we had a mini alt season for 2 months and then it went in the gutter for a year. That hasn't happened either, right? We never had a euphoric phase. So to me, it's inescapable. The 5-year cycle, based on liquidity flows, based on Fed policy, based on the business cycle, right? That is what we really are following here. And I saw an interesting tweet the other day. I think his name is Mark. It's an analyst I respect a lot. He was saying, look, the 4-year cycle, that's the tail. Look at the dog that's wagging the tail. Look at the thing that affects the 4-year halving cycle. It's always been the business cycle. And you can zoom in on that data and see that's true. So to me, look, if you're an OG, you're sitting on billions, fine, go ahead and sell. But if you're just up like 30%, say you bought Bitcoin a year ago, right? You're up a mere 30%. You're in this game for 30%, returns, and then you're out. I don't know. That's not how I play this game. So I'm hodling, I'm staying long here. We'll see how it all plays out, but I continue to be bullish, and I think liquidity and business cycle is what governs this, not the dates.
Yeah, and here's the 2017 cycle. You see big October, November, December, and then January you had the sell-off. This is where we had a blow-off top in altcoins. Then the 2020 cycle, big October, November, December, January of the next year, February, March. And this is when alts are absolutely ripping and blowing off. Remember, there was a double top in that cycle. So arguably, that cycle wasn't as euphoric as the 2017 one, but did give you more opportunities and did go longer because when everybody thought the first top was it, remember we sold off like 30%. Okay, that fit the 4-year cycle. Oh my gosh. Well, we went up and made another new minor high, and you had another 3 months of green off of those lows. So what will happen here? I don't know. We'll see. So far, been bad October, bad November, and we were all saying, hey, this is poised. You're supposed to have seasonality. You're supposed to have some strength here. and more, it's just not happening. So either 125 was the top, and that was it in September, October, the shortest, the worst bull market in the history of crypto, institutional players, the smart guys getting caught holding the bags, or there's just a delay. And the 5-year cycle has more and more of a runway to become a reality. And the longer this stays red like this, I think, a lot of people are like hedging. They're like, well, maybe we go to Q1. Well, maybe it is Q2. Maybe it is Q3. Maybe it is Q4 when GTA 5 launches. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But this would be one of the worst performing bull markets in the history of Bitcoin, especially for Ethereum, not even going to a new all-time high. No euphoria, no retail, and institutions get caught with the bag. That would be almost revolutionary for the financial markets, for those guys to be wrong on everything and get caught holding the bag on the way back to a multi-year bear market.
This market will humble the smartest and richest among you all. That's just how it is, guys. Your expectations, your beliefs, you'll be proven wrong time and again. Especially if you're looking at shorter term time frames and trying to predict the day to day or the month to month. That's the reality of this market. But if you zoom out and you say, I'm going to look at a year-long time horizon, or I'm going to look at 2-year, 5-year, then actually you're almost never wrong if you just held. That's the crazy thing, right? Like the short term, I mean, nobody knows. This has been a cycle that's been just full of random events out of left field. We got black swans, we got Binance liquidations, we got Bitcoin hitting an all-time high before the halving. I mean, none of it makes sense. Look at the seasonality. We expect October, we expected November. So far, none of it's playing out. None of it makes sense. But yet, zoom out, we're still up 30% on the year. We're still up much more than that if you zoom out 2 years. So, I know it's not sexy. I know it's not clickbaity. But the best way to make it in this market, honestly, just hold Bitcoin, hold Ethereum, long-term time horizon, and the noise and the month-to-month and the day-to-day starts to matter less and less. But man, this market will humble the best of us.
Yeah, we mentioned this. Sailor to raise 620 million for buying more Bitcoin. It might have been 620 euros. I don't know, rounding error. Somewhere around 600 to 650 million dollars to buy more Bitcoin. We got CZ's personal intern here saying, LOL, Crypto Hitman, at what point is this guy a liability? I have said the next time I'll buy spot Bitcoin is when he gets liquidated or MSTR blows up. This is a big misconception about MicroStrategy. They're not in a debt liability situation where there's actually a level of Bitcoin in which they have to go bust or sell Bitcoin. That's not how they have built this thing, and that's why it's very unique. Bitcoin could literally go to $1, and they could simply sell MicroStrategy shares to buy more Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin ever has a future, then you have more Bitcoin per share. So it's working and functioning just properly. Remember, he cannot get liquidated. It's not the way the debt is structured. And they have enough shares to offset that. So obviously you can argue, well, if Bitcoin heads towards zero, MicroStrategy heads towards zero, and it all unwinds, well, for a given portion of time. If Bitcoin goes to zero and stays at zero, yes, it all unwinds, and we're all wrong anyways. But if Bitcoin goes to zero but then bounces back to 100,000, it didn't unwind, and they're actually going to have a massive horde of increase in Bitcoin per share for the shareholders themselves. So that means you'll never be buying Bitcoin again if you're waiting for him to get liquidated. Now you can argue, what does MSTR blow up mean? Maybe if MSTR drops from $200 down to $50 per share, maybe that's a blow up for you, and then you can buy Bitcoin. I don't know, but you need to look at how they have their debt structured, because this means you'll never be buying Bitcoin again if you're waiting for Michael Saylor to actually get liquidated on his Bitcoin and MicroStrategy position.
You know what I don't understand about this guy's comment, who's basically rooting for the demise of Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy, and generally what I don't get about bears, like, you're in this market to root for it to implode and people to lose money and, this thing go to close to zero. Like, that's what you're rooting for? I thought we were supposed to, believe in this digital asset revolution and the fact that this technology can change the world for the better and improve people's lives through investing, through payments, through decentralization. Aren't we supposed to believe in this asset class and believe something positive about it that can change the world and humanity for the better? You're rooting for its demise? Like, I don't get it. I never understand the bears. I get, look, being short-term bearish at times, okay, makes sense given macro headwinds or whatever. But if you're like a long-term bear rooting for the end of this industry, I just don't get it. Like, why are you even here? Why are you spending your time on X tweeting? Like, stay positive, guys. Believe in something. My contention is that the believers, the ones who truly think this asset class is good for this world you're going to do better as an investor too. Because guess what? You're going to hold through the shit, right? You're going to be that guy that bought in at $5 a Bitcoin and held for 10 years and made billions. Like, those guys believed. You got to believe in this asset class if you're going to make money. So the bears, I'll never understand you. I'm certainly not a bear, even at times like this, and it hurts sometimes to be this positive, but I can't be anything but positive when it comes to crypto. I just love this industry. Love you guys for tuning in as well. What's up, Jay? Gav, hello, good to see you, bud. Too many bullish fundamentals for crypto. Eventually our assets will blossom. Absolutely, man. It happens time and again. I think we have to wait for the liquidity situation to sort of play out. Oh, Hex Bull, it's not holding 100K. Are we crashing right now on Bitcoin, guys? Can someone check the chart? We got the crypto paradise pump is turning the crypto paradise dump, apparently.
Bitcoin sitting at $100,646, and Hex Bull says Bitcoin not holding 100K. Also, Todd waiting another flash selling lower. So yeah, we have not bought back our Bitcoin yet. We sold Bitcoin at higher levels. Todd has not given a buyback. Still looking at a potential 85 to 95K worst case scenario, but a 98K in a better scenario. Or if the indicators flip a buy. So the RSI is oversold, but the technometer is not oversold yet. So he buys strictly on the Wyckoff technometers. He owns Wyckoff SMI, the Wyckoff Stock Market Trading Institute, and that's what he trades on. So there's no buy to buy here. That doesn't mean that he's right all the time, but you can see from these green candles, these green and red marks, that these are his sells, my sells, whatever, and they've done pretty well. This is my standalone sell if the bullish divergence went up to 116,000, but again, we are back below that once again. So there is potential downside here if you're an Elliott wave theorist, that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're working on a fifth wave down, which means you have to go below 99,000 for that to complete. That could be 98,999, or that could be 95,000. So we'll wait and see. If we do look at the Ethereum chart here, 3293 outperforming Bitcoin a little bit for the first time in quite a while. Again, we sold Ethereum here live on one of these live shows at over $4,000, and we're down to 3293. This doesn't feel good. I'm not saying you should feel good. I'm not saying you have any cash. I have very little cash in the markets. Luckily, I have a trading bag for Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana. We sold all those higher. But other than that, I am almost fully in the markets and really looking at like, oh, is there anything that's doing well that I might want to sell to bag some profits or pay IRL bills? You know, that's the situation for many of us. But, you know, you got to take the good with the bad. We're still watching this. We still have cash to buy Ethereum. But, man, it has been not fun here off the tops, because now you're looking at a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. But this could be the head and shoulders top forming here. And we could already finished it down here at 3,000 if you're a bull. So not much else to go on besides, hey, we wicked all the way down to previous support. You finished the formation, and that means you can consolidate here and work our way higher and have a disbelief rally when everybody thinks we're still going much, much lower.
Isn't that how it normally plays out, though, right? Like, feels bad. Everyone's bearish. Oh, it's definitely going lower. Meanwhile, whales are scooping up at these prices, right? We know Kathy Wood is buying. We know Tom Lee is buying, right? For sure, many other whales and Wall Street types are also buying into Ethereum right now. Everyone thinks it's going lower, and then bam, you get a disbelief rally. So look, it's the same story each and every time, guys. I know it feels shitty, but we're going to have a relief rally at some point here. I don't think we bleed out back down to, what, $1,400 or whatever the low was for this cycle. I do not see that happening. So, you know, it's just kind of wait and see. It's consolidation phase here. It's whales buying in. It's Jeets G'ing out. Eventually, we're going to flip bullish, y'all. I think it's going to coincide with the reopening of the federal government. I do believe that is a catalyst. I do believe that's been a major headwind here for the financial markets. It's gotten everyone jittery and risk off. And then the rate cut, which I do believe is happening in December. And then we're also getting a new Fed governor. Head of the Fed is going to be nominated here, likely by the end of the year. You know, that would be a little bit earlier than what you'd expect, given the fact that he's going to be installed in only May of 26. But Trump apparently wanting to sort of juice the markets more and get some positive sentiment back is allegedly, the rumor is he's going to nominate someone here at the end of this year. And whoever that person is, if it's a known dove, you'd expect markets to react positively. So there are positive tailwinds, some headwinds right now. Let's not be disingenuous about that. But to me, it's going to be a relief rally when everyone's expecting it the least.
Yeah, and I mean, you do have to, when in doubt, zoom out. But also, you see this big run up, this big consolidation, a wick to a minor new high, and then this kind of drop, consolidation, sell off. Well, big run up, minor new high, drop, consolidation, sell off. So if you're looking at fractals and you like fractals, this top just looks like a bigger, higher version of this right here. And what happens next would be a V-shaped recovery. Everybody doubts it. It grinds higher. And then as soon as it gets back up to this consolidation level, which happens to be this white overhead resistance line, then you have the next big green candle move that leaves everybody behind. Just like Bitcoin has its biggest gains in 10 days of a year, the same could apply to Ethereum here on this next breakout. Leave people behind and force FOMO at the next round of consolidations. And that's another thing. It's like the people who say the market is over, again, leave out who gets caught with the bag, which that would be unprecedented for the smartest, brightest, wealthiest, institutional, big, most powerful governments in the world to be caught holding the bag and not retail. That just doesn't happen. But for me, my biggest thing that I'm leaning on is if I believe that Ethereum, the second largest crypto in the world, consolidated for 5 years not to go to a new all-time high while Bitcoin did over a 2x, that just does not make sense to me. That is wild. You have Ethereum now has DATs. Ethereum has institutional adoption with spot ETFs. Ethereum is going to have dividend paying spot ETFs. Ethereum has all of the stable coins. Ethereum has regulation around DeFi applications. Ethereum has yield generation from centralized exchanges that is regulated on Coinbase. And it hasn't gone to a new all-time high in the past 5 years. And you're saying the top is in. That just does not compute with my brain. And I could be wrong. I'm not saying I couldn't. But at some point, you have to take a step back, see where we are in the potential business cycle, see what's going on from a macro fundamental perspective, and then ask yourself, does that make logical sense to you? To me, it doesn't. And that's why I say we're going higher for longer.
None of this cycle makes a lot of sense. All I know is we are going to go higher given enough time. So I continue to hold, I continue to be bullish on this asset class, particularly Bitcoin, particularly ETH, some of my low cap gems that I think will recover and rebound because I got great communities, perhaps great founders as well.
I wanted to pull. Go ahead.
Speaking of great founders, Road asking, what's Richard Hart up to? Yes, I did see a tweet where he said something like, I'm going to launch a new product soon or new great products coming to Pulse Chain. I don't know if we got more news on that or if you saw that.
Yeah, let's take a look. So
but
let's start with this. Remember yesterday we showed that Pulse Chain was green in the face of red markets. We showed that Pulse Chain went up 15%, Surf went up 17%, PTGC went up 19%. So all of our theories play out when it comes to liquidity bonding. Today we see Pulse Chain is green once again on the past 24 hours. PLS up 4.38%, PulseX up 5.12%. Remember, my favorite is PulseX over Pulse, and it continues to outperform. Inc. 2.63% and Hex 1.41%. Now, why is this green a couple days in a row? Well, Richard Hart's yesterday, 21 hours ago. So this might happen live on air. We'll see. We'll have to keep refreshing the page. I've heard a new project is launching. Details within 24 hours. I'm excited. Be ready. So to me, I thought product, not project, no token. It'll have utilities that benefit the core tokens and Pulse Chain as a network, pump prices over time, kind of like pump tires, kind of like PulseX's DEX and other things. But he did use the word project, which usually means token, and saying be ready means probably have some liquidity to buy something. So I am still in the camp leaning there is no token, but his wording would tell you that there could be a token, so be ready for that. Then today, 4 hours ago, he said $10,000 to first place, $5,000 to second place, $2,500 to third person that guesses it in the thread. The most powerful project is one that no one guessed. One that blindsides everyone and invents a new paradigm. I don't know how to say that word. What's that word? Paradigm. I should know that. That's a Legend of Zelda word. Come on, Nick. I need to read more. Great news. I don't notice anyone even close. He had 1,000 replies. Nobody was even close in the original post. Guessing reward expires in 24 hours at the max or earlier if this account tells you the URL or details beforehand. There's some edge case where I might have missed it in the thread already, so expanded the prize pool. Prize provided by, paid for, operated by, and fulfilled by an anonymous donor. So I don't know what's going on here. I really hope there isn't a token. Now, Nick, why wouldn't you want a token? Because we're going to be early. We're going to buy. This thing's going to moon. It's going to go to $1 billion market cap. Probably all those things could be true. But I don't want thin liquidity to come from the cores or PTGC or Surf to try to chase this new project, number one. I don't think that's good for the overall chain. You're just recycling the same money. A lot of losers happen that way. A lot of good projects would be sold off to chase this thing in the hopes that it was going to change your financial future. Number two, I think that opens up a whole array of potential for crypto Twitter, who is just now coming around to Richard Hart, saying, oh, look at this. His other projects are down 50%, 70%, 80%, and he's launching another project. Scammers are going to scam. He's scamming again. And I don't want to see that because, like you said, and you noticed, KOLs and influencers and big people in the space are finally starting to talk positive about Richard Hart. And if he launches another ticker, even if it goes to $1 billion, the people that hate him, the jealousy, will continue to say he's a scammer. They don't care that this one went to $1 billion market cap or 10 billion market cap when the other 4 core tokens he has, the network he has, the DEX he has, continues to kind of be down and to the right and now consolidating, forming around a bottom. What do you say?
Yeah, I would love to see a new token launch in this environment for the reasons you stated. We have Wintermute stating, this is another story that we flagged, Wintermute stating that, based on their observations, Wintermute is obviously the biggest market maker in crypto. They work with Binance, many other huge projects and exchanges, saying basically there is no new capital coming into crypto. It's all just being recycled over and over. I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. We've known that for like 2 years.
We've been saying that for a year. We need retail.
I guess thank you for telling us again. Thank you for verifying it with on-chain or exchange-based data. I don't know, but so we know that that's true, right? There is no new money coming in crypto now. Sadly enough, people are not risk on. Prices haven't gone up enough. Retail doesn't care about crypto. They're trading AI coin or stocks or whatever they're doing. I think it would be a mistake to launch a coin before launching a product that gets traction, that generates revenue, that has proper user base, that solves a problem within crypto. And that's why my first thought when I saw these threads was, well, he's going to launch some better, similar version of a Hyperliquid or an Aster or a Lighter, but it's going to be on Pulse Chain because we know this market is obsessed with leverage, obsessed with perp dexes. That's the narrative right now. That's the product that everybody wants. But now I read his tweet and I'm sort of thinking, no, it can't be that because that's way too obvious. Someone would have guessed that within this thread. He would have said, okay, you were right. He also made it seem like this is very new. It's a new paradigm. It's something completely different. So I'm wrong. For sure I'm wrong. But regardless of what it is, I really want him to launch this thing before he launches a token. Like, that's just, to me, that's almost a prerequisite. Like, it better not be a meme. It better not be something just so basic that you're like, eye roll. I don't think he'll do that. I think it's going to be a product associated with the token, and I think the product is going to be decent and probably solve a problem. Hopefully it expands out beyond just Pulse Chain, right? If it's just a Pulse Chain-based thing, then perhaps it doesn't get as much attention. But in any event, I'm excited. Let's see what happens. My guess is, yeah, it launches. You're going to see other Pulse Chain, if it is a token, Pulse Chain assets sell down. People FOMO into this new thing. That's just what happens, guys. Like, remember what happened when Trump token launched? Right, same shit. Like all your favorite memes like dropped like 30 or 40% like overnight.
And part of the problem with the Trump token is their main liquidity pool was stablecoin, not Solana. So actually Solana was getting sold into, and that's why Solana had the short pump. But then ultimately everything went down because then when Trump started selling off, it wasn't going to a Solana pair, it was going to stablecoins. So it's kind of a liquidation suck on Solana's network itself.
Yeah, so we don't want to see that. We don't want to see a liquidation suck. But, expect it. Expect it if he's launching a token. We'll see what happens here, but I remain cautiously optimistic on this one. I think long-term, probably a good thing. Short-term, let's see the impact. Probably a liquidity suck, but yeah, excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, somebody said, Richard, is your X account being hacked? And he said, that's not how you spell being. This sounds like Richard. Also, if that was the case, Richard has a good enough OPSEC that if somebody hacked you, they're going to put a contract address out almost immediately. They're not going to wait now 23 hours with a 24-hour countdown. So I don't think it's a hack. My guess was a privacy protocol on Pulse Chain. He's talked a lot about privacy. We know he's used Tornado Cash. Also, privacy is now legal under regulation and Trump in the United States of America again. If the Democrats get back in power in 3 years, maybe that changes. But for now, you do have that window of opportunity. We see that flourishing with Zcash and some others. That was my guess, but he said nobody guessed in the thread yet. This was on the original thread. So somebody else in our chat is saying my guess is a privacy coin that has a tax feature that burns PLS. I did say a privacy protocol on Pulse Chain. He didn't count that. And a couple other people on here did say privacy tokens as well. So I don't know. I was thinking of Perps Dex too. I guess what he could say to where it fits in that we're all wrong but still right, and that's a new paradigm, is there could be privacy functionality Dex perp. So you're able to trade on a Dex with privacy features and obfuscation plus the perpetuals. That could be something new that isn't in existence yet. I know Horizon is working on something like that, did a grant, and somebody's working on a privacy Dex. I know Arthur Hayes just this morning tweeted about, hey, we need a privacy Dex. That would be good timing because nobody's done it yet. And technically, I would still be wrong saying a privacy protocol, and you would still be wrong saying a privacy token because it finds itself in the middle, a privacy DEX, which could be very useful for the market in general.
Well, hold on here. Hold on. There's another post where he says all the things that it's not. Let's try to find that. Thank you, NJ Dub. Appreciate you jumping in with that. Yeah, that will be helpful for our little guessing game here, wouldn't it? But
I don't see that.
Part of the fun, I guess, right? That's part of the fun here. Part of the fun. So, fingers crossed, it ends up being positive. You guys know we're ultra bullish on Pulse Chain. We want it to do well. And Bagitos, I think you're correct, my friend. I think you're correct. No one's going to guess it correctly. And that's okay. It's a fun conversation. So thank you guys for jumping in, having this conversation with us.
But
happy to see Richard Hart out there doing his thing. He's trying his darndest, isn't he? I mean, this guy is not slowing down when it comes to all things Pulse Chain. It just hasn't translated into the price yet, but I think that's simply because the market is risk off. Alt season's nowhere to be found. Bitcoin's obviously under a lot of pressure right now. Ethereum's way down. You can't expect really any of your altcoins to do well, sadly enough. It feels like we've been in this scenario for going on 2 years. I know we've had some bright spots, privacy now being one of them. I know we had a meme season last year. We had an AI trade at one point. I don't know. We had a couple of bright spots, but there's been no sustained alt season where everything seems to be doing well. This hasn't happened. Got to stay locked in, guys. Got to stay thinking long term. It will materialize, just not tomorrow.
Yeah, and the thing is too, it's like, well, but Nick, Zcash is up. Well, Zcash is having the help of Bitcoin whales actually going into that. So Bitcoin whales aren't FOMOing into Pulse Chain right now. And while you're just speculating that that's happening, well, not really. Arthur Hayes is openly saying he's buying. Rand Neuner is openly saying he's swapping Bitcoin for ZEC. So there is Bitcoin whales swapping into this trade, and that's why price is going up. And Zcash, again, more new all-time highs, up to $710, up 31% for the day. Zen up 7%, but still sitting around $20. So now Zcash is having another leg higher, while Zen, Dash, Decred, and other privacy coins continue to just consolidate after the last move. It would be lovely if these, like Zen, consolidates here and breaks to the upside to follow Zcash. And for those of you in Dash, it's a similar thing where, well, Dash found a high after a big run, and now it's consolidating on the back of right now Zcash is sucking all of the excitement out of privacy coins, up to $710, another new high for the move. Privacy, I don't know what's going on. I don't know where the top is. Obviously, we've been talking about this. Here's the buy setup we had. Here's the sell, and we have been left behind ourselves. Obviously, it's big gains. You got to love it. But every live show, we're like, I don't know. This keeps going. This has the thing. We dig a little deeper. Hey, the narrative is this is the next privacy Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin, what Bitcoin was meant to be. And you're getting a lot of the OGs, the people who are in Bitcoin for these various reasons, now looking at ZEC. So when does the train stop? The world may never know. But the fundamentals and the outlook from these people, at least on paper, makes a lot of sense.
I thought we were going to have a reversal as of today for two reasons. One, I saw a tweet. I didn't watch the video because it was a little disturbing for my taste. It was a trans guy, woman. It was like a bald guy, but with hair. It looked disgusting, and it was shilling Zcash allegedly. I did not watch the video. I was like, gross. Not watching that. No thanks. So I thought people were gonna go, oh fuck this, I'm out of this trade. This is crazy, woke coin or something. It didn't sell off because of that. The second thing I saw was Binance apparently came out and said, we're not accepting your Zcash that's been through the rinser. That's already been obfuscated out. I don't know if you saw that tweet, but Binance basically saying we're not going to accept any truly private coins being deposited on their exchange because they don't want the liability, right? Governments don't like the privacy stuff, so. Could it be from terror? Could it be terrorist money? Could it be from, child pedophile industry or whatever? Could it be from, drug dealers? So the exchanges don't want that headache. The regulators are after it, and yet somehow, I guess it's the Bitcoin whales, just pumping this thing. They just don't give a fuck about the trans dude chick thing, and they don't care about Binance because this thing's still running.
Yeah, here's the Binance. Yeah, I saw that video pop up, but I was out doing golfing simulators, so I didn't really read it, and I don't really want to watch that. That was weird. Here is Binance post on their exchange. So if you try to, deposit ZEC, I guess this is the pop-up that you see. Please note that private/de-shielding transactions sent to this address may not be credited and may lead to asset loss. So this person's summation, again, I would have to do my own research. In other words, privacy coins are fine as long as they're not private. Your Zcash must behave like Bitcoin with a glass wallet. The moment it's shielded, it's tainted. Translation, Binance isn't rejecting your ZEC. They're rejecting your right to financial privacy. That is interesting. I haven't done that much into ZEC, but if you can obfuscate your ZEC and then you can send it unshielded to Binance, they will accept that. But then the whole thing is like your Binance account probably has some form of KYC on it anyways. So if you're going through all these hurdles to make sure that you have private cash and then you're putting it onto a centralized exchange that has KYC on it, you're kind of defeating the purpose even if they took this shielded ZEC in, because they have a way to know who you are and IP tracking on that as well. But interesting. I guess there's ways around that. You toss on a VPN. Maybe you have a friend do KYC. I don't know. But that's kind of how I'm reading it. If you send your normal ZEC unshielded, they'll take it. But if you're trying to send a shielded transaction to a centralized exchange, the centralized exchanges aren't going to take it or aren't set up in order to take it.
Hey, I don't blame the centralized exchanges here. I know it's their policy and all that, but why are they doing it? They're not like, I hate privacy. Fuck your right to privacy. I think they're like, we're under pressure from regulators. Remember our founder? He went to prison for 4 months for like facilitating money laundering and all this stuff because, allegedly they were accepting money from maybe terrorist groups or whatever, didn't have controls in place to prevent that. So if I'm Binance, why would I risk that again? Why would I risk billions of dollars in fines? So don't blame Binance, blame the regulators, right? So, it does bring up an interesting point, though, in my mind, which is if you bought in a bunch of Zcash, right, and you were there for the privacy and, I don't want the government to track my this, that, the other, how are you going to turn it into actual money to buy stuff? I know it's great to have, number go up on your screen and in your wallet, how wonderful of a thing, but at some point, don't you got to turn it into, real things? Houses, cars, private jets, I don't know, stuff that actually benefits you in a meaningful way. How are you going to do that without moving on to a centralized exchange, which has your KYC to try to sell it for dollars? You're going to do what we early Bitcoiners do, meet some guy in the corner and do a transaction for a bag of cash? I mean, I guess that's an option. But seriously, how are these people who are deep into privacy expect to turn this into real money without going through a centralized exchange, which has your KYC?
Well, and I think a lot of them, too, isn't so much that it's privacy that they don't want to pay their taxes on it, but it's privacy in the form of ZEC has the opportunity where I can send you funds. And if you look up my address on chain, you can't see every transaction I've done. You can't see who I've sent money to. You can't see how much money is in my balance. And that's very powerful. So I think there is that subcategory as well where it's like, hey, I can still use this money, but people can't see that, hey, I went and bought a coffee from Starbucks and I don't need that barista knowing that I'm doing a $100,000 business line buying a new sports car somewhere or something like that. Or they can't type in my address and be like, holy shit, this guy's got $1 billion on this wallet. Let's rob him. Let me call one of my buddies. That would kind of be like you going into Starbucks with your wallet and whipping out all the hundreds to pay a $5 bill. And now you kind of put a target on your back for that barista and everybody else who's in that situation.
Yeah, I get that. And there's value in that. I just think there's a simpler solution to all of that, which is to say, all right, if I want to do transactions with crypto, right? I have my wallet, which I do transactions, and then I got my long-term cold storage wallet, which just holds the hundreds of millions, or if I'm a billionaire or whatever, holds a bunch of money in there. And I don't connect those wallets, or maybe they're connected with one single transaction that dates back 5 years, and probably no one's going to find unless you're a blockchain sleuth. I just think there's simpler solutions here to that problem. But look, it's people are making money on the trade. Great for them. Happy to see this narrative running. I like this narrative a lot more than, God, how many other narratives we saw. Remember GameFi? That was always pretty much a joke in my opinion. Remember NFTs? There's no reason those should have been worth $100,000 for a picture of a monkey JPEG. So at least this has a narrative that I can kind of get behind and that spurs some smart intellectual conversation about right to privacy and so on and so forth, versus like memes and stuff. But yeah, let's see how long this keeps going. My contention is that it will keep running up until the point where the early whales who bought into this, that spurred on the run, when they start selling out, this thing is going down, and then people are move on to the next thing. But it seems like they're diamond handing it for now, and maybe more Bitcoin whales and retail are entering it, so it continues to run.
Yes, sir. Is there any other charts you want us to look at? I guess we've talked about Coinbase a lot, so let's pull up the Coinbase chart. We just talked about it in the live show yesterday. So let's see what that's doing today on the back of this kind of weakness in the overall markets. And we'll see if we can give you a buy signal here. We are close, but no cigar so far. Coinbase selling off once again, going below both moving averages on the 4-hour, down to $292. Remember, after I sold this, I said I would have a target of around $297. We have achieved those levels, but we have not given a buy just yet. We're still not oversold on the RSI, and we're still high neutral on the technometer on the 4-hour. So there's still no glaring buy for Coinbase. I would love to see a glaring buy because that means that there's a higher probability that the Bitcoin low is in as well. We're just not getting it. I will say on the daily, we just bounced off of the 200 moving average here, so that's good to see. Back to 292, we hit a low as like 281. Did briefly get oversold on the technometer, but still not oversold on the RSI, so still nothing glaring. But this looks like you could be creating a bull flag. You see this is the flag pull. You do this, and maybe we consolidate some more, and then boom, we can go higher. So this might be close to where the low is. I mean, maybe you can go down to 269, 270, but again, in terms of percentage-wise, that's not all that much. Coinbase is now down 21% from our profit sell at 370, and still one we have our eyes on. But again, no clear buy indication here, so it's hard for me to tell you here on the live show to get long on Coinbase. And that is unless you've taken all these trades and you're like, you know what? I can buy back all my shares and keep 20% profits for something else. Then if you want to do that, feel free to do so. But again, no glaring indicator to buy Coinbase just yet.
Yeah, I think we're waiting on two catalysts for Coinbase to start pumping again. One, government shutdown's got to end. And that's, I think, going to be a catalyst for the entire market, particularly Coinbase, because I think a lot of their business, frankly, is relying on this comprehensive market structure bill to be passed into law. And I just don't see that happening until the shutdown is resolved. The shutdown is on the forefront of everyone's mind in Washington. They're trying to resolve it, allegedly. Let's see if and when it happens. I mean, it's getting a little ridiculous here. So hopefully they get that solved pretty soon. Honestly, at this point, if it takes paying off people, Medicare, or whatever the fuck it is, just pay them off. Just pay them off. You're gonna print more money anyway. Just throw up the white flag and say just paying off the bums. It's gonna happen no matter what. So that's my take at this point. If the Democrats are just not, they're just gonna keep the government shut down forever. This is bananas. But in any event,
I think
is
yeah, but when we talk,
the second thing is the market structure bill. Got to get that out. Got to get that done here. I think it's going to happen when the government's open and they're looking around Thanksgiving. So Coinbase will recover, the market will recover. Government shutdown is a massive headwind right now that's pissing me off and everyone in these markets.
I think it's a black swan that not a lot of people are talking about, not giving a lot of conviction, especially to crypto and risk on assets. But I said yesterday in the live show, I think within the next few days, early next week, I bet you we probably reopen. I mean, there's no reason for Democrats to keep it shut anymore. If they're really gonna pound the table and keep it shut on the name of giving food stamps to illegal aliens and stuff, and Medicare and whatever to illegals, that's pretty wild. I think it was more of a ploy for the elections that were happening. Those are all over. They won some of those elections, and I think they're ready to open it back up. And we have seen Schumer and some others saying, all right, let's get to the table and negotiate. Remember, the snap turning off isn't part of the demands of the Republicans. The snap turning off is a byproduct of the government being shut down itself. So, yes, people will get their SNAP benefits back, unfortunately. Do I think there needs to be reform? Do I think there needs to be a reduction? Do I think there needs people to be cut off? Yes, but that wasn't part of the reason for the shutdown at all, besides the fact of Democrats wanting illegals to get the Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP benefits, which is absolutely absurd to me. Not only is there 42 million people on it, but like 30% of them are illegal aliens taking your tax dollars. Disgusting. And remember, government spending causes inflation. So not only is it being spent with your tax dollars, it's also affecting your next generation, your kids' wealth, your kids' spending power in the long term, because government spending is inflation. Inflation affects your spending power and the future generation spending power, all in the name of illegals.
No, it's madness. And look at the price on Walmart. They're already dropping prices over at Walmart because the government money has run out. So it absolutely caused inflation. I mean, when I said they should strike a deal, they got to exclude illegal immigrants from whatever kind of deal. If you want to reinstate SNAP and reinstate whatever subsidy was going to folks on Obamacare under a certain income level, I think that's like fine. Just get it done. But you got to exclude the illegals off of it. Like, you can't be like, yeah, sure, and also, 50 million illegals are also going to, no, of course not. So that can't happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope they get something done here or somehow resolve it. I don't really care which way it happens at this point because it's just dragging on. And I also have a vacation coming up, and I can't have the FAA and the air traffic controllers not coming into work the day that me and my family are flying out to down to the Paradise Pad. So get it done before Thanksgiving, y'all. Get it done. But yeah, I think Coinbase is going to be fine. Going back to the markets, going back to all the crypto assets, I think it's all going to be fine. But you gotta get this thing resolved. To me, it feels like an underappreciated headwind. Like, no one's talking about how this is creating uncertainty and hurting the financial markets, except maybe us here on this channel. But I think that's really one of the big things that's weighing everything down right now. Let's see if we're right. Let's see once it gets resolved, if the market turns around here. Would be nice to get some government data in around inflation and in around labor market as well, because without that, it's kind of like, how can we even speculate what the Fed is going to do, right? Which is another either headwind or tailwind, depending on what they end up doing with the rate cut. So it's definitely been a drag. Let's get it resolved here. Congress people, get it done. Want to circle back to the discussion around Richard Hart. NJ Dub, thank you for contributing to the conversation, by the way, my friend. Apparently, it's in a self-reply. It's not a token, DEX, AI, etc. So this thing, I guess it's gonna be out of left field. Like, what is this thing gonna be? Not a token, not all the obvious stuff. Is it gonna be another in real life thing?
Instead of a rug pull, it's just gonna be a magic carpet ride. He's like, here's the product. You see this 700 million? You can watch it in live action, being full ported to Pulse Chain and just market buying in real time. That's the product. Just pumping Pulse Chain.
The product is the price. Isn't that true in these financial markets? To a large degree. Well, let's see what he does, man. I'm excited for this. The only problem with how he's done this, right, is you create a lot of hype and expectations which are hard to live up to. You know what I mean? So everyone's excited, and it's like, it's gonna change the world. It's gonna cure cancer. It's gonna be some basic thing. Everyone's gonna be pissed off. So anyway, I guess I'm just a little cynical today because of the price performance on my coins. But,
no, I mean, that is a true thing. You can have, buy the rumor, sell the news king come into play here. The announcement of the announcement. I mean, they used to be glorious in 2017 and even 2020. Justin Sun still used them, but they can be detrimental if you don't live up to the hype or if there's not day one utility for the tokens you're trying to pump. So we'll see. We have the Pulse Chain chart up here. We showed this head and shoulders here. It went right to the measured move. Now you could be forming a big head and shoulders, left shoulder, big head, right shoulder. And this is good timing. If Richard Hart is 5D chessing this and looking at this chart and like, all right, I need to create green candles, this could be good timing because this would be a big head and shoulders. And your measured move would be all the way up to here. I already measured it out, which would be up here to 0004751, getting you above this daunting green line we've been talking about and back up to these previous highs here. But then what happens there, Ian? Well, look where this dotted line is. That makes this a left shoulder, a giant head, a consolidation for a right shoulder, and then boom, you go higher again. So I don't know. If he's orchestrating all this, this guy loves his head and shoulders, and maybe he'll be getting a sponsorship from the Head and Shoulder shampoo company because that's surely what it looks like he's painting on the chart for upside objectives. Come on, Richard, make it happen.
Well, who doesn't love a little head and shoulders? Let's see how it plays out. I don't see, this going at 10x up until like the market's just, pumping across the board. But excited for what he's orchestrating as always. I think he's, he's one of the most underappreciated founders in all of crypto. So shout out to Richard Hart. I wanted to share just one final story. I threw it into our OG chat there, Nick, about Kazakhstan. Because I was talking about this yesterday. We were talking about this yesterday. Wouldn't it be wild if Binance had sort of orchestrated this entire, I don't want to call it meltdown, but, correction from 126,000 to sitting at 100K. because their buddies in the government of Kazakhstan were going to then use this opportunity to buy the dip and scoop up crypto. We know CZ has working directly with the government of Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is apparently already creating some digital asset reserves, I believe, with BNB. Would it be out of the realm of possibility? Is it completely crazy to say Binance suppressing the price, so their buddies over in Kazakhstan can buy the dip and create their, what's going to be their Bitcoin strategic reserve? What do you think of my conspiracy theory? Give it any credence, or is this just tinfoil hat stuff?
I don't know about the conspiracy, but man, Kazakhstan would probably be making a good move and getting ahead of that gold rotation into Bitcoin, and they would be buying a dip here, 25% cheaper than Michael Saylor. Remember, Michael Saylor did buy the exact Pico top, the attempted third breakout attempt of the $126,000 Bitcoin. So I don't know about the conspiracy, but Kazakhstan, make the move, buy the dip, get the discount, and just getting to all-time highs from here puts you, like 25, 26% in the green for your government treasury there.
Well, don't you think it's likely that they already are buying the dip, right? Them and other smaller countries. I think it's the smaller countries are going to jump into the sort of the nation-state buying phase first. But I do believe that is coming. There are a lot of very powerful, very rich people pushing that. Samson Mao comes to mind, obviously CZ, I'm sure many others, are consulting countries around the world to allocate a percentage of their tax dollars or the money they make off natural resources, whatever, into Bitcoin. So I think this is a long-term trend. I think it's happening a little bit behind the scenes. I don't believe that these nation states are buying off the market. That's not normally how this works, guys. They go to OTC desks. They go directly to the Bitcoin miners, right? So it's a little bit under the radar, so to speak. But I do believe it's a long-term trend here, and I would not be surprised if Kazakhstan is taking advantage of buying this dip, as is El Salvador. We know El Salvador buys 1 Bitcoin a day. Good for them, very smart. And looks like JP Morgan's buying Bitcoin too. So, Wall Street continues to buy, guys. The only people selling are the Bitcoin OGs and the people who believe still in the 4-year halving cycle. And Wall Street has more money than them. This asset class is only worth $2 trillion. Bitcoin is only a $2 trillion asset, which is not a lot in terms of overall financial markets and the money that's around. So Wall Street has more money. The pension funds, the 401ks, they have more money than the OGs have Bitcoins. It's just a matter of time before the early OG Jeets have sold out and been replaced by diamond-handed Wall Street types, and then we can start pumping it.
Yeah, Roan says 4 trillion. JP Morgan just disclosed that they bought 340 million worth of Bitcoin. So I searched that to try to find that news article. But it looks like they're not only buying Bitcoin, they just bought $102.5 million worth of Bitmine, BMNR. Might sound familiar. That's the Ethereum DAT that we've been on since the low of $30. Right now it's getting close to that again. I think it's like 38 or 40 due to the sell-off. But look at here, JP Morgan buying 1.9 million shares of Bitmine, BMNR. This is why I say I cannot see how we're at the top. You're not going to tell me the most powerful, influential, richest institutions, individuals, and governments are going to get caught holding the bag while retail isn't in the market and didn't FOMO. Retail is so dumb, they FOMOed into a $30 trillion asset the day of the high and lined up around the blocks to buy blocks of gold. They're so dumb, they bought the exact Pico top of an asset that is worth 10x more than the entire crypto market cap altogether. And retail is not in crypto. Yet, JP Morgan is buying hundreds of millions of dollars, and they think that the top is in. Oh, we got 3 years of bear market, but we're going to buy $102 million worth of BMNR that solely relies on the performance and price of Ethereum. I can't comprehend it. I don't think it's a reality. I used to work in institutional finance. We just saw retail FOMO into gold. These guys are buying this. 1 + 2 does not equal 3 in this scenario. And the top, if it is in, is absolutely wild. First time in human history that the powerful, the wealthy, and the insiders lose to the peasants.
Yeah, not going to happen. The insiders know what's coming. The insiders know what's happening with this comprehensive market structure bill, more so than we know. Right, we're following the news, we're following the breadcrumbs. Brian Armstrong comes out and does a little 3-minute, 30-second video of all making progress. You don't think Jamie Dimon has all the senators, as well as the President of the United States, on speed dial on his phone? Right? You don't think Larry Fink, the president of BlackRock, knows what's happening in Washington all the inner workings and the progress being made around the laws that are going to allow billions and billions, even trillions of dollars of retirement money to flow into this asset class. They know more than we know. Let's just call a spade a spade. They know more than we know, and they're buying. So, I don't have any more money to buy, sadly. If I did, I would buy more. But I am at least holding. So, if you're like me, you're kind of broke, you're way too in the markets, buy, hold, or sell, those are your options. I continue to hold because the Wall Street guys are buying.
And Paquito did say El Salvador already in the lead. Yeah, they've been buying 1 Bitcoin a day, every day, or more for years now, and they are thousands and thousands of Bitcoin. I think they're still up on that trade in a big way. So shout out to the president of El Salvador, not only cleaning up the streets by getting rid of illegals, by putting cartel criminals, 70,000 of them in prison, all within the matter of weeks, and getting on the Bitcoin standard years ahead of its time. Also using their natural volcanic energy to mine Bitcoin and produce energy for the people of El Salvador. El Salvador was the most dangerous country in the entire world, and now is the safest country in the Western Hemisphere, all under the leadership of one individual. So if you don't give him props, I don't know what it is. You can say it's harsh. You can say he doesn't have sympathy or empathy. Look, if you're not a criminal, you're a hardworking individual, you have made it because of this president. I really don't give a shit about everybody who found themselves in prison doing the wrong things.
Yeah, if you have criminals roaming the streets, killing people at will, then no one is free. If El Salvador, you couldn't go walk your kid down the street. You couldn't take your kids to the park. It was too dangerous to just live your life. And now the cities are open. People are out and about, just going about their daily lives. Yes, the criminals, maybe their rights were trampled on. But you know what? You're a criminal. So, that happens sometimes if that's the life you're going to live. So, no sympathy for those guys. Happy El Salvador did it. Looks like, in terms of Bitcoin, looks like Kazakhstan, looks like many other countries are coming online here and going to start buying Bitcoin and creating their own strategic reserves. Very wise thing to do. It's a long-term trend. We continue to follow it. Martin's buying 1 Bitcoin a day. That's smart, my friend. The Martin Strategic Reserve. The Martin Max King Strategic Reserve. Let's create a stock too around it and turn you into a digital asset treasury company. How's that sound? But I actually have to get going, guys. I am heading into the wilds of New York City. I am going into Mamdani's, New York today. Wish me luck. I might get stabbed. Let's see what happens.
You're gonna send me you're gonna send me your private keys before you head in, or what? I promise I'll give it to your wife and kids.
We're good on that, but wish me luck. Heading into Mamdani's, New York. Let's see if we survive to tell the tale. But great stuff today, guys. Appreciate you joining in. We'll be back Monday with another live stream. News, analysis, fun banter. And until then, y'all, we'll see you on the beach.